Hi, I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is live from the Hotel Edison, Times Square Chronicles presents. Right now we're on Women's Month, actually months, because we're going to continue this into April, honoring and celebrating women that are at the top of their crafts, that have a lot to teach us about who they are and what they do. Our guest today is Lorna Dallas. Lorna, at the very young age, won a major talent contest and then was the first American to play Magnolia in Showboat in London opposite Cleo Lane, who happens to be one of my favorite singers. She then has performed all over the world. She's done countless albums. She is an expert on Jerome Kern. She has sung for kings and queens and royalty. And she is one amazing human. Today, we have Lorna Dallas. Lorna, in your career, what is the one thing that you will always celebrate and always be thrilled that you did?
I will always celebrate the fact that I had incredible people encouraging me and teaching me over the years. And in a way, I feel like I'm paying forward. All that they gave me, and I owe them everything. I had wonderful teachers, starting at the age of 9, a voice lesson with a teacher who was 80 years old, who had taught my sister for 10 years before that. And when my sister left to go to university, I took her place in the studio at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and piano lessons and then voice lessons. And that woman gave me a good, solid foundation. And I was so fortunate after that to have a teacher at university, Virginia McWaters at Indiana University. She was a godsend. And she just I had to audition to study with her. And in that audition, when I'd finished, she was only barely 5 feet tall, redhead. Beautiful red hair. And she tottered across the room and she took my face in her hands and she said, "My dear, a beautiful book has been started. I can only add chapters." For a 16-year-old, that was really profound. And I immediately warmed to this one thought, yes, I have to be with her. And my prayer was answered. She did accept me in her studio. And for the next 4 years at university, she was my mother, my mentor, my everything. And the things that she had me do, they were outrageous, but they were lessons in life, not just in voice, but in life. I will give you one example. I was with a singing group called the Bells of Indiana University.
Oh, I saw this. Your sister was in that.
Yes,
too,
she
right?
was in the original group. Thank you. You've done your homework. I'm impressed.
I did.
I'm underwhelmed. But no, and when I went to university and I was in the Bells, and we did tours around the States. We were sort of ambassadors for the university and all that. And one of the tours was down through the South. And one of the stops was to be in New Orleans. Well, Miss McWaters said to me, she said, "Lorna, when you're in New Orleans, I'm arranging for you to stay with a friend of mine." I said, "Was it all right with Mr. Bayless, the head of the Bells?" And she said, "It will be fine. I've arranged it. Don't worry." So we get to New Orleans, the plane lands, and go down the steps of the plane, and there's this very elegant chauffeur standing at the bottom of the stairs. He said, "Miss Dallas?" I said, "Yes, that's me." He said, "Right this way, I'm Albert." And he escorted me to the limousine, longest stretch limousine I've ever seen in my life. For coming from a small town in Illinois, 2,000 people, it was huge. Anyway, in this limousine and going through New Orleans, through the French Quarter and all, and pull up at this wonderful mansion. And the door opens, and there's this vision, a woman in this crazy muumuu and huge glasses and a long cigarette holder. And she said, "Hello, I'm Fannie Mae." I thought, what the heck am I in for? Anyway, she escorted me through this and it was incredible, the artwork and the paintings, the statues and everything. And she took me to a separate wing. She said, "This is where you will stay while you're here." beautiful, beautiful suite and all. But there were photos all around, and there were photos of leading ladies from the Metropolitan Opera, all signed to Fanny and all that. And oh my God, I'm in incredible company here. So anyway, I had 2 nights before my shows. So anyway, Fanny said, well, tonight we're going to Antoine's for dinner. Go to Antoine's, of course, a very famous restaurant in New Orleans. And we arrived there and escorted Miss Fanny. Everyone's like bowing and scraping. Miss Fanny, right this way, to a private dining room in the back. And go there, and oysters, Rockefeller, champagne. I thought, oh my gosh, Lorna, this has been incredible. Mm-hmm. The next night, she said, my dear, we're going to, what was it? Antoine's the first night. I can't remember the name. Another famous restaurant. Go in, Galatois, excuse me. Galatois. Same thing. Waiters. Oh, Miss Fanny Mae. Right to the private dining room. Champagne flowing and everything. And as I say, for a 16-year-old, it was incredible.
This is impressive.
This was impressive. And then the next night, she said, we have the opera tonight. You have your show the following nights. Take it to the opera. Fanny Mae, we were escorted to a private dining room for that, and to a private box and all. It was amazing. And then the next night, she came to my show with the Bells. Of course, the Bells were saying, well, Lorna, what's been going on? I said, girls, I can't begin to tell you. You know, it's incredible. So the next morning, Fanny Mae said, well, they will be picking you up very early. She said, but I want you to meet someone who was dying to meet you. And I go down to the dining room, and there was this gentleman, and she said, Lorna, and it was the mayor of New Orleans.
Nice.
He was a friend of Fanny Mae's. Very early that morning, he presented me with the key to the city. And I'm like, this is incredible. Then Fanny Mae said, look, my dear, come with me. So she takes me up to a part of the mansion I hadn't been in before. She opened the door, and it was like to this huge ballroom. It was incredible. And row upon row upon row of beautiful gowns and dresses and furs, and a huge glass table of jewelry. And she looked and she said, take what you want. Exactly. And I'm like,
which one?
I'm like a kid in a candy store going, but I was breaking out in perspiration. What do I do? What do I? Oh, I was in agony then. And finally, I walked back and I said, oh, Miss Fanny, it's very kind of you, but I will remember this, but I don't think I can take anything right now. Thank you very much. Are you sure? I said, yes, thank you very much. So Albert took me back to, of course, the girls in are saying, Lorna, what the heck? Because they'd seen Fanny at the show. What a character. Anyway, I said, girls, you really won't believe it. I just, well, as soon as the plane landed in Indiana, I could not wait to get back to tell Miss McWaters, Miss Mack, I called her anyway. And I dashed out and I rang her and I said, Miss Mack, she said, yes, come out to the house. So I got out to the house and I said, oh, Miss Mack, she said, I know all about it. I said, what do you mean? And she said, Lorna, I know all about it. Fanny's been on the phone to me. And I said, well, she said, Fanny Mae told me that you said the right thing. And I was trying, and she said, Lorna, I sent you there for a life lesson. You will meet many people in your life, in this profession you're going to be in, that will want to give you things, and then they will want to own you.
Oh, yes.
And you must learn to say no to the right people. And she said, so it was a life lesson with Fanny. And believe me, that was a lesson that has stood with me over the years.
Now I know why I liked you so much when we were having the talk at the York Theater, because I'm a firm believer that I cannot be bought, and people have tried.
Yeah, but it is true, and it is a strange, funny sort of thing. But I was taught that in a wonderfully warm and witty sort of way. And remember, I said that the mayor was there very early that morning. Well, as it turns out, Fanny Mae was the foremost madam of New Orleans.
Oh!
But she was a patron of the arts and everything. But I've often thought, well, if I'd stayed, would I've been a madam in training? I don't know, but it has stayed with me all these years. And Miss McWaters, God love that woman. But that was a true lesson in life that I couldn't get any other way. A very innocent, but yet a very telling way.
Have you ever seen the movie Dangerous Beauty?
No, who's
Oh,
in
I
that?
recommend it highly. Oliver Platt, but it's about a girl and it takes place in Italy. And your choices back then were to be a prostitute or a wife or a servant.
Yeah.
And after watching that movie, oh, hands down, I would have been the prostitute. Well, because they received education, they could talk about art, they were considered equals.
Yeah, but as I say, Fanny was very much respected in New Orleans, patron of the opera and all that.
In France, it would have been the same way.
Yes.
This was like a major lifestyle.
Yes.
I'm telling you, if that had been, well, I can't say that because I actually met, what's her name? Heidi Flash, in LA.
Yes. Yeah.
And I turned her down. Damn, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Getting Magnolia and working with Cleo Lane.
Oh, be still
And
my
you're
heart.
still friends with Cleo Lane
Cleo
and John
is
Dankworth.
now 97 years old. Cleo, I adore, I love that one, I cherish her. And I have to say that it's a strange coincidence that my going to London and working with Cleo, and then of course meeting John, her husband, then later, several years later, when I met my husband, Gary Brown, he had been in John Dankworth's big band when Cleo auditioned for the band. And she auditioned, and John wanted to pay her £5 a week. That was a lot of money way back then. And she said no. She hung out for it, and she got £7 a week. But Gary was with them at that time, so he knew them. So our connection, both of us, with our connection with the Dankworths, was really strong. And
I saw pictures of you guys together.
Oh God! And it was. I mean, when Gary and I got engaged, I think more than ringing my family, the first people we wanted to ring were Cleo and John.
Oh.
And on our wedding day, they couldn't be there, but they rang and they sang a wedding song they composed for us.
Did John ever do any of your arrangements for your songs?
Yes. And I did a number of concerts with them at Royal Albert Hall and
Yeah, I
Festival
saw.
Hall, and also Town Hall here when we celebrated Cleo's 70th birthday, I think it was.
I missed that part.
And Princess Margaret was over for that. So yeah, it was a royal occasion as such.
Yeah, I saw her in LA at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh.
And then again at the Greek Theater. And she's such an interpreter of song that you just kind of got to go.
Oh, yeah.
Teach me.
Oh, God, yes. But I was telling you, the first day, when I arrived in London a couple of days before we started rehearsals, and of course I did not know anyone and all that. I was madly looking for a place to live and everything. And the first day we were meeting in the Dress Circle Bar at Drury Lane Theatre, just for a meeting of semicircle chairs set out, and Wendy Toy, the director, said, just read through the script and so everyone gets to know who everyone is and the characters you're playing on. When it comes to the music, kerfuffle through it, all that. So, fine. Anyway, Kenny Nelson, American, wonderful actor, was sitting next to me. And anyway, the doors open, these double doors, swinging doors, and suddenly I see these thigh-high red leather boots with the lips, the eyes, and the hair. And she walks up, hello, I'm Cleo. And I thought, my God, I've never met anyone like you. This is incredible. And I just, I'm Lorna. And we immediately clicked.
But that's a perfect dynamic for Julie and Magnolia.
Yes.
Because Magnolia is in awe of Julie.
Yes. I mean, Julie is her sister, her mother, everything to her. And after that, and when we started reading through the script and we got to Can't Help Loving That Man, she started saying, I thought, my jaw dropped, and I wrote, it's in my script, like a cello, and I just showed the pages to Kenny and yes, we two were like sitting there like drooling. And I thought, I'm going to be working with this woman every night. How lucky can you get?
I'd have been sitting there going, thank you God, thank you God.
Oh, I was. Believe me, I was. And we had such a close, loving relationship. We still do. She is someone so very special in my life, and I will be forever grateful to her because I learned so very much from her. She's one of the other people that I think I've got to pay forward what I learned from her.
See, I think, I was very lucky when I was singing in the beginning. I wanted to study with Barbara Cook.
Ah, yes.
And I actually ended up doing it for like 3 times. I think that people that are so talented and so good at what they do, that they should teach up and coming young singers.
Yes. I think when they reach, if they're not performing at that time, it's better for them to teach.
Yes.
If they're performing, I think they can be a little bit, they can put out their frustrations on the person they're teaching.
Exactly.
So that can happen, I think. So it's better if they've reached that point that, yeah, they should hang up the high heels.
There's just a point that that the notes aren't there. You can't lower it anymore.
Yeah.
Most of us start off at sopranos and slowly it goes downwards. You're known as an interpreter of Jerome Kern.
Yes, I love Kern.
What other songwriters thrill you to sing?
Well, of course, I have to say Sondheim. There are certain things of Sondheim. Lyrics. Lyrics.
I agree.
I fell in love with the music of Ivor Novello when I went to London.
Oh, okay.
I had not heard Novello before. And when I got there, one of the first songs that I heard was Waltz of My Heart, and it's perfect for sopranos. And so I thought, ooh, lucky me. And the very first television that I did there, it was called The Good Old Days, which is a program that had run for like 30 years.
Wow.
And the BBC, it was one of the most popular shows that they did. It was sold all over the world. In fact, I got some repeat checks from Timbuktu for 50 pence or whatever one time, things like that. Oh yes, the gift that keeps giving. Anyway, The Good Old Days was taped in one day, and it was taped up north in an old vaudeville house.
Ooh, fun.
And it was, and the city varieties in Leeds. During the week it was like anyway, very nice place. But on the Sunday, when they filmed The Good Old Days, it was tarted up like you wouldn't believe. There were glitter things were put around the columns and all sorts of things, and it was like you wouldn't believe you were in the same place. But the stairway leading up to the dressing room, you walked up crooked and you thought, are these going to last till I get to the top or not? I mean, it was really old, but it was perfect for filming that program. And I loved it because it was all in the Victorian costumes.
Oh, how fun!
Yes, and luckily someone told me, said, "Oh, Lorna, we want to warn you, the audience will also be in the costumes, and they are their own costumes. We don't. The BBC doesn't costume the audience, but they come. A lot of costumes are handed down through the families." And there are people they're queuing up for these tickets, and there's some people that have got them in their wills that when anything happens to them, their tickets will go to so and so and so and so.
Oh wow!
So
that's like Rayo's here eating
yeah. So it was really a really fun program to do, and when the curtains open up, and men were sitting with a handlebar mustaches and uniforms and all that, it was really good fun.
Oh, that sounds like such a blast.
It was. It really was.
Did you get to choose your own costumes, or?
No, the costume lady came in and I said, I don't wear a green. I don't wear green on stage. This I can get away with because I've got other colors in it, but I will not wear a green costume. And she said, that's fine, Lorna, don't wear it. And so in my first costume, I did 7 of them over the years. And my first one was a beautiful apricot.
Ooh.
It was really great. It was stunning, and it was really wonderful. And he said, "We do the show, and remember, it is a show. If there's technical problems or anything, please carry on. We want to just keep doing
That's
it.
how I feel with this podcast. No, I'm serious. Like when there's mistakes or anything, yeah, keep it in.
Well, fine, yes, it's life, isn't it?
Well, I think that when you're doing interviews with people, they should be to demystify the fame so that
Good word.
you really want to know who the person is. Now, you already know this is my favorite question.
Oh God, okay.
They say that eyes are the windows of the soul, but I think songs are. So today, what song or series of songs describes who Lorna is?
One song that's one of my favorites that it is a Kern. All the Things You Are.
Ah, so that stayed your favorite song.
Well, it is a perfect song in many ways.
True.
The lyrics and the shape of the song, it says everything it needs to say. It's a song that really, sometimes you don't even need to repeat it. You don't need to go back in it once you sing it through. The same thing happens with Once in a Blue Moon by Kern, and a female lyricist, Anne Caldwell, that is written over 100 years ago. But the words in that are so true.
Kern's lyrics are definitely for a romanticist. They're for somebody that has a lot of hope and someone who still believes.
Well, his music, yes. And the people that he's worked with.
Even the
it was
lyrics.
Hammerstein in Showboat.
Right.
And I mean, please. I mean, why do I love you? Why do, please. Beautiful, beautiful lyrics. That was a beautiful combination of a composer and a lyricist. But as I say, the Once in a Blue Moon with Anne Caldwell, the female lyricist, and Kern was a great one to promote female lyricists way back when, 100 years ago. So you have to applaud it for that, if nothing else. But beautiful, beautiful melodies, and the Once in a Blue Moon, I think, and then All the Things You Are. For a number of reasons, that's very personal to me.
What roles would you like to take on that you haven't had a chance to do? Is there anything in theater or TV or film or even musically that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet?
I would love to have done Sweeney Todd at one point or other, and I would love, oddly enough, I would love to have done Sunset Boulevard, because I felt that was the one Lloyd Webber show that, before it was done, was Nicole Scherzinger, which is quite wonderful. But I would love to have done it originally when it was done, because I felt it was a role that it was not one of those that it was so programmed in Lloyd Webber that an actress could find her way through it. And for me, it wasn't just the singing; it was the acting part of it. That to me, words are more important than the voice at times. The voice, you can scream a note if you want to. I really want to get a point across, and it's something, I would scream a note, or speak it if it has to have an emphasis that I didn't think that vocally a sung note would get across. Then I would scream it. I would have to. To me, the acting comes first.
Oh,
the words.
Absolutely. I started off actually singing opera, and I had to quit because I can't speak languages. I am the world's worst. And you cannot make a note sound like a sound or what the word is if you don't understand what the word is. So instead I hung upside down in Godspell.
Okay, there you go. I can't, that would be interesting. Like Godspell. Okay, fine.
Godspell was a lot of fun.
It was that was another experience in London, because they had the first performance of it. It was a midnight matinee for the pros. So all of us in shows could go. So we piled into the Wyndham's Theater, and this music starts, and we had no idea what to expect of all of this. And suddenly they're coming down the aisles past us. And so Jeremy Irons suddenly goes past me and taps me on the shoulder.
Oh, he was in Godspell?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, oh, be still my heart. Ooh, a bit of all right. And, oh God, all the
Was he
people.
playing Jesus or Judas?
Judas. And I just you know, and I just sort of, it was fantastic. None of us knew what to expect. It was all we went berserk at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, when it was over. And that was the first performance of it. So Godspell, yes, it goes back to that. So a lovely memory of London for me.
Now you have sung for kings and queens and dignitaries all over the world. Who was your favorite to sing for?
Diana.
Really?
Yeah. She was very, very gracious and very, very outgoing and beautiful woman. Very tall. I suddenly felt so very short. But she was very tall, very willowy. And also the Queen. The Queen was an incredible woman. I did several shows. I did one at the Palace with Judi Dench. And it was in the grand drawing room where they have all the investitures, W night and all that sort of thing. And we filmed that. It was for the Not Forgotten Association and for the members of the military that had won honors over the years and all, and a very prestigious audience. And Princess Anne was there to give a speech, and I was the word they use over there is commère. I was emceeing the evening and this script and bringing on and telling the story. And then I sang Pia Jesu with the boys' choir. And I was introducing all these stars that were involved, and Dame Judy and Princess Anne had to go to the podium that I was using. And when I found out in the afternoon that I thought, oh gosh, I hope she doesn't, because I had certain bits of paper there. I had it all memorized, but I had certain bits that just my guy
jarred your memory.
Yes. And I thought, I hope to God she doesn't touch any of those. So I said to her equally, I said, can you make sure she doesn't? Excuse me. I said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I just need to make sure that Princess Anne doesn't move those papers, please. Before
should have put little horses on each one.
Yes, it would be better. Anyway, she said, I will tell her. Yes, and she, oh God, I've made the wrong move. But she didn't, God love her. And afterwards, when we came through the line and we presented to her again, and she said, did I do all right? And I said, yes, thank you, ma'am. But she was also, with Princess Anne, I was benefit charity show I was doing up in northern England, and it was on a Sunday of course, for all these benefits, and our day off from theater. Anyway, a long day of rehearsing and doing the show that night, and then that we were presented afterwards down the line, and I'm standing, I can't eat before I sing, so the whole day I'm like going, and I'm standing and saying, Lorna, don't faint, but you need food. And I'm starting being presented, and she comes up and she said, I remember. You can't eat before. And I said, no, ma'am, I can't. She said, you come with me. And she took me out of the line and led me to the buffet line. Just make sure this woman has what she needs. And she handed me the plate. She said, now, and she started dishing up stuff for me. And there was that lovely side to her as well. So I have to say, she was a favorite to sing for in a funny sort of way. But Margaret was a hoot, though.
You mentioned Judi Dench. I would love to hear you and Judi Dench sing There's Always a Woman.
How funny. I gave an idea to Judy, and it was...
Was it that?
No, it was da-da-da-da greener. Oh, okay. But yes, but Judy, I knew Judy before she was Dame Judy, before Finty was born.
Oh wow!
And Judy and Michael, her husband, were absolutely dear to me. I adored them. And Judy will, if she can't come to a show that I'm doing, she'll send a bottle of champagne.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And and Finty, I've known from so tiny. And one day, Judy and Michael, I was doing Hello Dolly, and Judy was, of course, doing something in the, I can't remember, I think it was Antony and Cleopatra with Hopkins at the time. And the only thing they could come to see the show was a matinee. So anyway, in the dressing room, she came up and she said, "Don't look at my shoes. Don't look at my shoes." And of course, I couldn't look down. She had one brown shoe and one blue shoe, and she'd gotten dressed in such a hurry. And she said, "It's the only thing I could do. Don't look at my shoes. Don't look at my shoes." And little Finty standing there dressed up like a little Cupid doll, and I have that memory of her so much in my mind. But she and Michael were very, very dear to me, and before I knew Gary, and then when I got married to Gary, they were thrilled, and later on, and from their home, what they do, every time a tree is felled, they will carve things out of the tree trunk and all the tree that's left.
Nice.
Their hearts they carve, and I have this wooden heart that they gave to Gary and me, and I have it, and it's in a place in the house that I walk by it most days actually, and I sort of rub it and touch it.
That's charming.
It is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I cherish that. A simple wooden heart, but it came from a place that they love, and their sanctuary as such. And special people get those hearts.
To me, gifts are things that, the ones that mean something,
Yeah.
are the things that they don't have to cost anything. They
No.
just have to be something that was thought of for you.
Yes.
And then you could give me a stone and I would be like, oh. But people buy me like expensive things and I'm like, why?
Well, when I got married to my husband, I said, "You're very lucky." I said, "I'm not a jewelry person, Gary, so don't worry." I said, "I have my gold band, that's the most important thing." So I said, "I'm not a jewelry person." He said, "Oh, really?" I said, "No." So.
Now you're performing here in New York.
Yes.
Tell us about your Chelsea Table and Stage residency.
Yes, I'm really thrilled. I did this show late last year, and they asked me to come back. And it's on March 28th at 7 o'clock. And I'm really thrilled to be back with this show. It's a wonderful show. I work with a wonderful creative team of Barry Kleinbort and Chris Denny. And the shows that we put together are, in my mind, they're like one-act plays. There's a journey through them. And there's a rhyme and a reason for every song. There's a story behind every song. My stories. And they can be of maybe something about Fannie Mae in New Orleans, or meeting Gary. He was an agent for Cunard, and he booked all of their entertainment all over the world.
So let me guess, how many Cunard ships did you sing on?
2.
That's it?
Yes.
What?
It wasn't my
Your
thing as such, but to be on it with him, and we did some wonderful trips, world cruises and things like that, part of those and all that. So I had things to do on land. Anyway, he received hundreds of photos and tapes and everything from all over the world. And one day, a photo landed on his desk, and he looked at it and he said to his secretary, "This is the woman I'm going to marry." It was my photo.
Aww.
I hadn't sent it to him. My agent hadn't. I have no idea to this day.
God.
Yes, he was pulling strings up there for sure. And anyway, it was like about 6 weeks after that, he went down to see a specialty act that was and playing in a show in Eastbourne in the summer season. And I was headlining with a British comedian. And I come out on stage and say, "Oh, there's that girl I'm gonna marry." And anyway, someone said, "Oh, Mr. Gary Brown was in town." I said, "Who's that?" I had no idea. Anyway, the next day my agent rings and she said, "Oh, Lorna, Gary Brown." I said, "No, it's funny you should say that. Someone said that last night at the show." She said, "Yes, Gary Brown, he rang me today. He's booking entertainment for Cunard. He would like you to do 3 weeks on the World Cruise, QE2. I said, no, I don't want to do 3 weeks. Okay.
But the QE2 is like a big deal back then.
Oh, yes. Well, about an hour later, she rings back. She says, he's come back. How about 2 weeks? No, I'm sorry. No, I don't. About 45 minutes later, she comes back. She said, how about 6 days, Istanbul to Athens?
Ooh.
I said, okay, 6 weeks I could tolerate. Okay, fine. But please, could I have his number? I want to speak to him because I want to know the passenger profile so the programs,
Oh.
the music I plan will be the right thing
Oh,
for them.
perfect.
So then she gave me the number. And at that time I was doing side by song time. And anyway, I rang him. And he said, "Oh, Miss Dallas, I'm a very busy man, and I have so much to do at 4 o'clock on Tuesday. But ring me that morning because I could very well get a call and be halfway around the world." So I thought, God, you know.
And this is the guy that wants to marry you.
Yeah, and I thought, God, what a little fuddy-duddy. And I thought, phew. Anyway, so on the Tuesday morning, I rang. He said, "Miss Dallas, I really am very busy. I really can't." I said, "Fine, I'll see you on Friday at 4, and I hung up. Friday at 4, I turned up, ring the doorbell, the door opens, and my heart skipped a beat. I saw this very cute man with this ingratiating smile. And I thought,
Twin flames is all I have to say to this.
I was well and truly blown away. Then I hear this voice behind me. "Hi, Dad." And it's his daughter coming home from boarding school. And I thought, oh no,
You're gonna be a
Mary,
stepmom.
Matt, don't go there, Lorna, don't go there. So anyway, I go and I have this meeting and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, you're such a nice man. Why?
At least he wasn't gay.
No, he wasn't gay, that's for sure. But anyway, oh God, why? Anyway, I think it was 5 weeks after that I was due to fly out. So I get to the airport, check in, go up to the lounge. Who should be there but Mr. Brown? I said, "Oh, fancy seeing you here, Miss Dallas." Anyway, talking, I announced the flight. He's on the same flight, sitting next to me. And during the flight to Istanbul.
Did he arrange that?
Yes. On the flight, I find out that he is a widower. He finds out that I'm not married to an American doctor, which he had thought, and the ball game changed. And then we get to Istanbul, and the airport there at that time was the pits, and the car from the ship was not there to meet us. So we're going, drawing pictures of a ship to taxi drivers. Finally met this taxi driver take us, and he's sitting in the front seat with the taxi driver. I'm in the back seat, and this taxi driver is absolutely hopped up to the eyeballs.
Oh no.
And it's going through red lights and everything, swerving.
And you're like, I'm gonna die.
Exactly. And I had a set of Greek worry beads in the back, and I'm rubbing Greek worry beads, and dear Lord, I have met the man of my dreams, and I'm not going to get to know him any better. Please, please. Anyway, finally, Gary just says to the taxi driver, "Drop us off here," and it was at a bay, and we could see the ship across the water.
Oh my God.
Anyway, and it was almost midnight. So,
What time did the ship leave?
it was the next morning, thank
Oh,
God.
God.
Anyway, but we're out with our luggage and all this on this bay, looking across in the moonlight at the ship, and Gary manages to stop the car and get a police then, and he said, "We need to contact that ship." And the police got the message to the ship, and they sent a tender across to pick us up. So I'm going in through the crew gangway on the ship. I said, "This is really romantic." I meet him in this bar area, and the bartender comes up. Oh, Mr. Brownie proceeds to hand this big Monte Cristo cigar to him. Ooh, I'm anti-smoking. I'm like, oh God. Anyway, and he starts, and he said, "Oh, do you mind?" I said, "Well, I do," but he said, "No, and he put it out."
Aww.
And anyway, he arranged for us to have a table for two. And when the ship docked in Athens, he arranged for the driver to take me home. And then he arranged for us to meet again. And yes, the wooing and the pursuing began. But
How long did it take?
I knew immediately when I saw him.
No, but how long did it take from that to
Well, it took a
together?
while. It took a while because there were two children. He was a widower with two children. And when I met them, they were charming, absolutely delightful. But it was a huge thing. But I knew the minute I saw him. Absolutely, the moment. If
I'm telling
Jesus
you,
should
twin
have
flames.
absolute truth. Just the man was my soulmate intended for me.
So you're performing at Chelsea Table and Stage.
Yes.
When?
March 28th at 7 o'clock, and I hope to see you there.
Are you gonna? I'm gonna try.
Please.
Are you performing anywhere else? Is there any place else that we can see you?
Not on this trip. I go back to London to do the show there at Crazy Cox in London, which I love that. I love that room. And I opened that room more or less years ago.
Wow.
Done a lot of shows there. It's very, very special to me. And then I'll be back here working on some projects with Barry and Chris again.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would love our audiences to know?
Just that I love singing so much, and singing for a small audience as much as a large audience. The communication, it's so personal. I love that. And I just love being able to present my stories and relate to people the joy that I have of life and of love. Love I had and I lost, but I forever have it in my heart. I love relaying all of that and just finding new music that's challenging in more ways than one.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank
I am
you.
so thrilled. I would really like to thank my guest, Lorna Dallas. I would like to thank Magda Katz for always making us look and sound good no matter whatever happens. I'd like to thank Ramel Gopez and the Hotel Edison for giving us a home and a place to share these podcasts with you. I'd like to thank Richard Hillman for bringing guests to me that are seriously fascinating. I'm Susanna Bowling, and this is Live from the Hotel Edison, Times Square Chronicles presents.